All right, let's dive right into this explainer. Today, we're cracking the code on how surface appearances almost always mask the hidden math that's quietly governing our lives. Whether we're looking at the massive spectacle of global mega events or just staring right at our own bodies in the mirror, the most dazzling, obvious things we see, they're usually just a brilliant distraction from the real ledger running in the background.
Now, I know what you're thinking. What could a $17 billion World Cup possibly have in common with that stubborn belly fat you just can't seem to lose? It sounds completely unrelated, right? Well, to figure out what's really happening to your wallet and your waistline, we've got to uncover the shared illusion they both rely on. Because as you'll see, whether it's a massive economy or your very own body, the surface is basically designed to lie to you, while all the real work happens in the dark.
So here's exactly how we're going to break it all down today. 1. The bread and circuses. 2. 4 hidden economic numbers. 3. The belly fat illusion. 4. Gas pedals and brakes. And finally, number 5. Winning the long game. We're going to move all the way from the macroeconomic fireworks of the 2026 World Cup right down to the biological mirror of your own fat cells, giving you the real ledger for both. Let's jump right into Section 1, the bread and circuses, deconstructing the windfall. We'll start with the 2026 World Cup coming to North America because it perfectly sets up this ultimate modern illusion.
This perfectly illustrates our two avatars for navigating this whole illusion, Tyler and Sophia. Now, they have the exact same income and live in the same host city. But when they hear this massive economic windfall is coming to town, they react completely differently. Tyler, he bets big on the promised boom. He excitedly slaps a $1,200 ticket package and a massive new TV on a credit card, charging him 21% interest. He's absolutely certain those good times are going to trickle down to him. But Sophia, she takes a deep breath and quietly calculates the real arithmetic. She buys one cheap ticket in cash, happily watches the rest of the games from a friend's couch, and securely tucks her money into a high-yield savings account. She's completely ignoring the hype and reading the underlying numbers.
And here's why Sophia is right. Take a look at the massive gap here between the hype that sells the tickets and the sobering reality of what actually stays in the local economy once the tourists pack up. The organizers, FIFA, who by the way are the ones actually collecting the broadcast and sponsorship revenue, they project a staggering $17 billion windfall for the US alone. But when an independent firm like the Boston Consulting Group ran the exact same tournament's numbers, they found a temporary bump of just $5 billion, and that's spread across the entire North American continent. The harsh reality is that the tourists leave, the bunting comes down, and local economies settle right back to where they were. The public pays for the security and cleanup, while the private organizers fly home with the lion's share.
Which brings us to Section 2, 4 hidden economic numbers, the ledger beneath the confetti. Let's look at the real macroeconomic data that Sophia is paying attention to, while Tyler is, well, entirely distracted by the soccer matches and his shiny new TV.
You have to remember, a mega event like the World Cup doesn't cause an economy to decline. It's just a spectacular distraction. There are 4 hidden numbers silently grinding away in the background of this modern Roman Colosseum. And honestly, none of them care who wins the trophy.
The most crucial point here is the U.S. national debt. It is rapidly approaching $40 trillion. But it's not just the total size that's so alarming, it's the cost of carrying it. We've literally reached a staggering milestone where the interest payments on this debt now actually exceed the entire American defense budget. Let that sink in. As historian Niall Ferguson points out, when a great power spends more on interest than on its own defense, the foundation is cracking. This is the ledger working in the dark, literally eating the future to pay for the past.
And that brings us right down to the consumer level with the K-shaped economy. This means the headline numbers look fine on average, but that's only because the top earners are soaring on that upward slope of the K, while the bottom is drowning on the downward slope. American households currently hold a record $18 trillion in debt. Sophia survives because she understands she absolutely needs a cushion in a K-shaped economy. Tyler, standing firmly on the downward slope, he doesn't feel the impact yet because his 21% credit card is just acting as a crumple zone. It's absorbing the immediate shock and hiding the collision from him right up until the exact moment it becomes mathematically impossible to ignore. Now on to Section 3, the belly fat illusion, why the mirror lies. Let's seamlessly pivot to how this exact same principle, the dazzling surface masking the hidden ledger, is happening right inside your own body. Have you ever hit that deeply frustrating wall where you're putting in the work, you're eating right, exercising, but your gut looks exactly the same as it did a month ago? It's so discouraging, right? You look in the mirror and you just think you're failing.
But much like our K-shaped economy, the headline you're seeing is totally misleading.
See, just like the economy, your body has a fixed, incredibly strict ledger. It prioritizes burning fat in a very specific order, kind of like a petal drying from the outside edges first. Your face and neck thin out early, but then it targets the deep, dangerous organ fat. You can actually shrink that harmful internal fat by 30% before your genes feel even a little bit looser. This means you are getting dramatically healthier on the inside, protecting your arteries and your liver, while the outside mirror remains completely unchanged. Your belly is simply dead last in line.
Moving to section 4, gas pedals and brakes, the mechanics of stubborn fat. Let's look under the hood at the cellular level to see exactly why the lower belly actively fights back against all your progress. Every single fat cell has 2 tiny switches. Alpha receptors are the gas pedals. Tap them and fat pours out to be burned. Beta receptors are the parking brakes. Hit them and fat stays firmly locked in. Now your face and arms are loaded with gas pedals, which is exactly why they empty out so quickly. But your lower belly? It's biologically wired for survival. It packs 5 beta receptor brakes for every single alpha receptor gas pedal. It's literally like having one foot flooring the gas and the other yanking up 5 parking brakes. The engine is roaring, but you are going nowhere. And this elegantly explains what we call the boomerang effect. The fat in your belly is actually colder to the touch because the blood flow down there is incredibly poor. So, when your body finally does release the fat from those stubborn cells, the blood flow is just too slow to sweep it away. The fat drifts out, gets caught, and is pulled right back into the exact same cell it just left, burned, loose, and caught again. It's a biological boomerang.
Which brings us to our final section, number 5, winning the long game. Count the zeros, not the fireworks. Let's bring this all together and map out how you actually beat both the economic illusions and these biological boomerangs.
The absolute biggest mistake people make is falling for the flat month trap. Around day 30, the mirror hasn't changed, so they just quit. But if you quit at day 30, you're basically walking out of the movie right before the major twist. Your body has spent that entire month clearing out the easy fat and the super dangerous organ fat. It's only at week 8, when those easy reserves run completely dry, that your body is finally forced to override those 5 brakes and burn the stubborn belly fat. You absolutely have to push through the flat month. When we lay out the behavioral swaps, it's incredibly clear that winning the long game requires relying on internal metrics rather than just staring at the mirror or stepping on the scale. Let's look at sleep first. The illusion here is that trading 9 hours of sleep for a 5 a.m. workout shows real dedication. But the biological reality? Short sleepers pack on 11% more deep belly fat on the exact same calories. Crazy, right? Next up is diet. Saturated fats quietly double your deep organ fat compared to things like fish or olive oil, even if the scale doesn't budge an inch. And finally, workouts. Doing 1,000 crunches is basically just vacuuming the rug when the floorboards underneath are broken. To beat that boomerang effect, you need 15 to 20-minute bursts of hard effort where you can barely speak. That floods the body with adrenaline, which is literally hard enough to pry those 5 brakes open. Ultimately, whether it's Tyler swiping his credit card to feel like a winner in a K-shaped economy, or someone quitting their health journey during that brutal 30-day flat month, the pattern is identical. The loudest, most captivating thing in the room is almost never the thing that actually decides your future. What you should take away from this explainer today is to always ignore the dazzling show on the surface and diligently read the real math operating underneath. So I have to ask you, the next time the world throws a huge parade or sells you a quick fix, will you just count the fireworks or will you count the zeros?